Mima was a pop star.
This is Mima's last performance with Cham.
Who desired to become an actress.
I really hope that I can entertain you just the same as an actress.
But sometimes aspirations can be deadly.
I'm always watching Mima's room.
In the world of make-believe,
This is when Mima proves herself.
the price of fame
Don't worry, Mima, it'll be all right.
may not be worth the cost of identity.
Where did this come from? How do they know so much?
Innocence is lost. Dreams become nightmares. And privacy no longer exists. Where everything you do can be seen by everyone. And those you trust are really those you should fear. Your life no longer belongs to you.
Excuse me, who are you?
Manga Entertainment presents Satoshi Kon's animated psychological thriller, Perfect Blue.
Excuse me, who are you? Excuse me, who are you?
I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
It was a defensive exercise.
Yeah, best defense is a good offense. Or is it the other way around?
Welcome to Prattle World. I am your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan, and in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Secret Defenders, where I task my guests to defend their favourite movies that are underrated, infamous, or obscure. And we've got a very interesting one today. We're going back to the world of anime, and we're going to be looking at something that's not quite your average anime flavour. It's kind of a bit of a giallo, we've talked about before, a bit of a slasher film, and it's a film that is a bit of a mindfuck all at the same time. It is a film called Perfect Blue from the Madhouse Production Studios, who I believe did the Marvel anime a few years back as well. And it's directed by Satoshi Kon, and it is a wild, wild ride. But we have to have, whenever we talk about anime, we've got to have the expert in. So Georgina Hanmer is back to defend this film. Though it is wildly, wildly praised by many, many people, I feel like people still haven't even touched it. So Georgina, you're back to talk about this film. Again, I've been dying to talk about this film for some time, and I didn't know that you were a fan of it, but I had maybe an inkling, but I think you put a post out or shared something recently, and I was like, okay, forget the hackers and the net idea we had, put that on the back burner, we're going to do Perfect Blue. So what is your experience with Perfect Blue?
Perfect Blue. Well, just like I was telling you. Hi, by the way.
Hello again. You're right.
I am back.
I'm throwing you right into it, right into the hot seat.
Ass first into deep end.
As always. No prep. Get in there. Get stuck.
Get in there. Just when we were chatting before we started, yeah, I have a really old-ass DVD there, and it's still got the £10 bought in HMV sticker.
Retro.
Yeah, very retro. Not VHS. It could have been. It very nearly could have been.
You're letting down your cyberpunk roots.
Oh, I don't know, because, I don't know, old media.
I guess this is. I mean, you could argue DVD is old media now, so maybe it is a bit cyberpunky. Yeah, I guess retro.
Technically, it is old media. Yeah. Don't get me started on mini this though.
All right.
Well, yeah, I must have been about 18 or 19 when I was at college when I purchased this DVD. I'd heard a little bit about it, and I thought, you know what? Why not? It's a tenner. Bought it. Been obsessed with it ever since. Absolutely one of my all-time favourite animated films.
I can definitely see it. And again, like I think we talked about it before. There's like for anime, I think there's two kind of extremes that people think of anime. They think of like the kawaii kind of cute Sailor Moon type stuff, like the successful kind of big genre stuff.
Yeah.
And then you find kind of like the kind of boys end of that, which is the Dragon Ball Z screaming and powering up for 10 years before they make an attack, and their hair goes all spiky. But I feel like this is kind of weirdly, like I think we were talking about it before, like it's kind of like a gateway drug, I think, for people who are mature adults. This is definitely for adults. This is not for kids. This is not a kids' cartoon. It deals with some heavy themes, very complex themes, and there's so many layers to it. And you can view it in many different ways and many different watches. But I do feel like if I gave this to an adult, they'd be like, oh, I don't know, anime. I think by the end of it, I think you could.
Yeah. Their initial reaction would be, oh, it's that Japanese cartoon shit, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. They've got the big eyes, they've got the, all this, and, I think there is like a stigma or a stereotype to anime. And again...
There is. I mean, I'll tell you this, actually. So, friend of mine at work, Ash, I was talking to him, I was like, oh, I'm doing another podcast with my friend Dan. I was like, oh, what you doing it on this time? I was like... actually a Japanese animated film called Perfect Blue, and I gave him a little bit of the lore about it, and he's like, do you know, I don't think I could actually watch like a feature-length film or even like an anime series or something. And yeah, just because it's like, yeah, it's a cartoon. I like, but like I was telling you before when we were messaging earlier on, like people watch Rick and Morty, people watch The Simpsons, and have done for an absolute fucking age with that one. How are these? What makes those different? Literally, what makes those different to watching a Japanese animated film?
And most of those shows are animated in Japan or Korea, or in the East. So it's basically the same producers of the same things, making the same stuff.
Slightly different clothes on.
Yeah, I don't know if it's maybe like a cultural divide. I know, again, like Japan is like I think we talked about it when we did Neon Evangelion. How kind of some of that stuff is like. Is a real kind of difference, with age ratings,
culture-wise, especially
culture-wise, and in regards to like sex and women and the way things are. But I think almost it's strange because Satoshi Kon was actually arguably more influenced by Western media as opposed to like Eastern media.
Yeah,
which was interesting. Like Terry Gilliam was a big inspiration for him, and Slaughterhouse-5 again was a big film for him. So it's maybe that's why I feel like it's such a gateway for Western audiences. It's because his influence is so heavily Western that it's maybe that's why it's not as big a cultural kind of jump for Westerners to watch this anime.
It's a lot more palatable. I think that would probably be the best way to describe it. It's a lot more palatable. I mean, yeah, it does deal with a lot of issues that you do see. That, I mean, massively. I mean, it's the murder genre at the moment.
Yeah,
like
true crime.
Yeah, literally everyone at my work goes on about who their fucking favourite serial killer is. So I'm like, are you for serious? But yeah, the whole true crime. Murder porn, if you want to call it that thing.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say murder porn.
It's blown up to the point now where everybody's like, oh, did you see that documentary? Did you see that drama series? Blah, blah, blah. Perfect Blue, I think, is like, it's almost like a route to all the stuff that's going on now. Because that's how I see it anyway.
No, I was going to say, I think it's massively ahead of its time. Massively. I think the kind of things it's discussing, like the toxic masculinity of it, the obsession with celebrity and pop idols as they're described in this, the dangers of the internet, like chat rooms and things like that. The sense of identity, the idea that these women are owned by their managers or their producers, or every single part of them is manufactured, and their private lives even have to be somewhat managed by the agents and the talent managers and things like that. They can't be seen to be doing this thing or that thing, and if somebody sees them doing this one thing, they're judged for it, and that it's not, if they're seen to doing pictures for a girly mag, it's oh, she's not pure anymore, she's mine. Feeling that you have ownership over somebody just because they're in the public eye, and what that says, and then trying to change yourself, and again, not only just trying to change yourself and try a different career path, or it's trying that career path in order to please all of these people that she'll never please, no matter what she does. So yeah, I think it's massively, if anything, more relevant than it was even at that time.
It's definitely relevant in the East, so I'll just give a little bit of a background on Perfect Blue itself before I just explain that. So Perfect Blue is actually based on a novel called Perfect Blue Complete Metamorphoses, and it was by Yoshikazu Takeuchi. In fact, in the past couple of years, I will mention this, the past couple of years it has had a English translation, and you can even find it on Audible as well.
Oh, nice.
So if anyone wants to, read it or listen to it, then definitely go ahead and do that, because the story is brilliant. I think it's not overly convoluted. It's easy to understand, and you can see what's going on, especially when you do watch the animated film. But it centers around a young woman called Mima, and she is a pop idol. If you know anything about Japanese culture and pop idols, and it's sort of the same in Korea as well, they have this culture too. Pop idols have a relatively short lifespan. You're very lucky if a pop idol or a group or whatever actually lasts more than a few years. It's because the shine's sort of rubbed off, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But
Mima work to death as well.
Work to death, and they lose all their appeal as they start getting older. It's really quite a cutthroat industry. But Mima Kirigoi, she's in this little pop idol group with two other young women, and she decides that she wants to become an actress. She wants to take her career in a completely different direction. And it doesn't go down too well with a lot of her fans, and it also doesn't particularly go down too well with the agency that she's with either. But the idol culture around it, like you said before, I forget what it's a parasocial, like a parasocial relationship. These idols portray themselves in a way that makes it seem like they are friends or acquaintances with their fans.
Yeah.
Yes, very accessible, friendly with them. It doesn't always turn out right. This is the thing. So you do get those fans that are quite possessive of them and stalkerish. They turn out like that, and it happens for real. It genuinely happens for real. Like in Japan and Korea, where you've got all the boy bands, the girl groups, and you've got all of these like young idol singers. A lot of these fans, like for example, if they find out that someone from their favourite boy band, for example, is they find out that they have a girlfriend or something, the fans go absolutely apeshit because of this parasocial type of like relationship that they have with each other. It's almost like, why are they not going out with me? I could be that person. I could be the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the whatever. And it does. It happens for real. It's the weirdest thing. It
happened here, didn't it? Eventually, like, because this, if I understand it right, it was more like a 1980s thing in Japan initially, and then kind of, filtered through into the 90s. But that kind of idea of the manufactured pop group did, arrive in the Western world. You get your, Backstreet Boys, your Boyzones, your NSYNCs, your Christina Aguileras, your Britney Spears. They're all like have horror stories about, what that was. And, I think it was Boyzone, it was Stephen Gately, wasn't it? He came out as gay. And like you said, like all the female fans went mad because they couldn't have a piece of him anymore because he liked men. So it did happen, and it's still, I could name millions of Five. That was another one, I think, and another Level. I don't know why I know all these male pop groups. Blue, there you go. And there's another one. I've got a list. I've got the posters. You can't see, but I've got posters all over my room of all these boy groups I'm mentioning. But I mean, like it was a real thing, and I read, and I know, and we'll get into the Darren Aronofsky stuff, but in the documentary I watched on YouTube, which I'll link below, it's very good. Make sure you turn on the captions, or you'll just get all the subtitles in French. But he said, the reason they couldn't sell a live action remake, was because that manufactured boy group wasn't, or girl group or singer or idol wasn't a thing at that time until really maybe the kind of Britney Spears era, when they really it was fully embraced by kind of Western culture.
I will say there is a slight difference between obviously like your Western, your boy bands and girl groups, as opposed to your Eastern ones, is the fact that in the East they do actually play on this parasocial thing. It's part of the marketing for them. Like pretty much everything in Eastern like idol culture and stuff is heavily marketed. And in fact, I'll briefly mention. So, have you seen Agretsuko by any chance?
The Netflix show about
the Netflix show.
Not yet.
It's genuinely one of my favourite things of recent years. It's such a nice little anime. I'll try not to give too much away about it, but the main character essentially ends up being in one of these idol groups, an underground idol group, and she does become a victim of stalking. And it's not always because, the person's obsessed with, the specific idol. No. But in terms of like what happens with Perfect Blue, it has a very, very negative connotation with it.
Yeah.
And it's because she came in and essentially, in their eyes, ruined the idol group. So it is in one of the later seasons, but I do definitely recommend Agretsuko. It's funny and it's sweet, and it does hit upon like certain real life situations.
I remember it being advertised, and it looked funny and interesting. But yeah, I didn't give it a go at the time. But yeah, I hear good things though. But with this film, again, we're exploring these things, and again, initially you kind of think it's her idea to be an actress, but a little bit it's the producer as well. Like her agent or her handler, let's say, Rumi, is very supportive, very caring, very nurturing, loves her, supports her decisions, tries to help her, teaches her how to use the internet. Which again, it would seem silly now that, you don't know how to use the internet. But
this was 1997 when this was released, though.
Exactly. This was like literally the earliest days of the internet. I watched a film the other day which was called The Last Broadcast, which was kind of a Blair Witch type found footage film.
Yeah.
But it predates the Blair Witch by about a year. Very interesting film, very low budget, but they use their budget to the best of their ability, and I found it quite interesting. And again, this was like they're talking about live streaming on the internet and stuff, but like in 1998, which I thought was mad. I was like, crazy. They're already kind of looking into the similar kind of stuff that Perfect Blue is, which I thought was strange that the two films kind of related weirdly. But yeah, and again, it starts off, and Rumi's like very protective of Mima and how she's seen and how this change is going to work, how they're going to facilitate it. But the main producer, the male producer or talent agent, is just like, no, this will be good, this is best, But then they still have Cham, which is the pop idol group, and they're doing really well, but as a twosome,
as a duo, yeah,
as a duo, and Mima's kind of struggling to get work, and I tell you what, that those moments in her bedroom where, again, she's living in this small room, it's cramped, and she comes home, she's exhausted, goes straight to bed. That is like one of the most relatable images in this film for me. And the fact that it, like, as her mental health deteriorates, the room gets more cramped and full of shit.
Yeah.
Is absolutely, I was like, I can relate to this on so many levels. Yeah, and again, a lovely little detail, like you wouldn't maybe necessarily notice, but as the film goes on and as she unravels, you do see, you try to understand her as best you can. And Satoshi Kon said, like somebody questioned him because there's a lot of kind of, you could say, problematic kind of imagery here and things that there's, simulated rape scenes and attacks of women and things like that, and maybe kind of depictions of women. But he said they were like, why do you treat your women so poorly? And he said, because they're me. This is an extension of me. This is a reflection of me and what I've been through and the kind of struggles I've had in my career. And they tell me to make this kind of anime, or they tell me to be more, like this and do this kind of story. And like he feels like he's kind of prostituting himself, or these are the kind of things he's kind of dealt with, when trying to make all of the art he's made.
So I have to mention this. So it's only been a few weeks, but one of my favourite writers and directors died, and that was David Lynch.
Yes, yeah.
I always thought that Satoshi Kon was sort of like the Japanese anime equivalent of David Lynch.
I can see that.
I always thought that. I've been rewatching Twin Peaks again recently. I'm not joking. I watch it twice a year. I watch it biannually because I like after. But yeah, there is this comparison between David Lynch and Satoshi Kon, which I do actually think goes quite well together, because Satoshi Kon's David Lynch had a similar sort of outlook on his own artistic process as well. The man everybody was like, David Lynch, he's such a nice guy. Everyone was like, he gave you the creative freedom to do this. He used a lot of like very odd and bizarre techniques when he was filming stuff. Like he'd never had everything on, just like a regular filming camera. He'd use like phones later. He'd use like really crappy digital cameras as well, just to capture specific shots and stuff. And the one thing that he particularly hated more than anything was producers not giving him free rein on what he wanted to do. And Satoshi Kon sort of had that sort of thing ingrained in him as well. Just both of them were artists. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you can't make the art without the money. But then with the money comes, having to make, sacrifices and, agreements and things, and you have to cut things, or, it's a process, unfortunately. And sometimes art gets ruined because of that process. Producers, how many stories have there been where producers have got involved and ruined the artistic vision, or edited something or cut it to pieces, or not even released it in some cases. If you look at like Warner Brothers with their films, they're like, tax write-off, let's not even release this. Well, we don't need to release this, tax write-off. And again, it happens. But yeah, sometimes producers do the good thing and pulling people back and saying, okay, we think you're going too far down this route and we want a bit more of this, or try this. And sometimes they can provide good changes, positive things, and reorient and give people perspective. When you let directors have free reign, you can get a Wonder Woman 1984, you can get a Batman Returns, which again I love, but again that's very much a Tim Burton vision, with no interference, and that's when they couldn't sell the McDonald's toys. So yeah, but yeah, I get that sense from him. He was a very sensitive, a person who cared about his art and was he wanted to explore things. He wanted to tell stories that you wouldn't necessarily tell in traditional anime or the popular anime. That's why you get those kind of stories.
Well, yeah, this psychological thriller type format is not particularly all that popular in Japan at the time. And it was, if I remember correctly, Satoshi Kon's actual first directorial debut. Because
it's his first film. This.
An absolute banger.
Absolutely.
But, he'd been working in anime before that. Like he'd worked on like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure originally. So he's no stranger to like the processes. But yeah, to say Perfect Blue was his first proper film, he done good.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. Like, it's animated, like, immaculately, it's smooth, it kind of, again, the transitions in and out of, we'll talk about what is reality and what isn't reality in this, because I think we could talk about that for days. And what you think is real, what isn't real, or does it even matter at that point? And I think that's something he explores. Those themes are something he explores throughout most of his work, and the blending of those two worlds.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's gorgeous. I think, and I'm watching a DVD copy, and I'm like, damn, I wish I had this on Blu-ray. Damn, I wish I had this on HD, which I will get. But it's still, even on DVD quality, it still looks great. I mean, you watch on the DVD, and again, it doesn't miss a beat, and every moment is kind of disturbing or chilling, or there's so much going on, and it says so much.
Every single piece of animation in it has a purpose, and it doesn't go too fast, it doesn't go too slow. The pacing in it is, I think, near enough perfection.
I think it's very strong, and again, I think it it's only like 120 minutes, I think, in total.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
70 minutes, something like that. But I think what the amount of storytelling they do and the amount of information they get across about this character and her struggles and what's going on, but also it's kind of challenging, I think, the audience. Like, you have to keep up with this. Like, it can't be like, oh, this is, because it never truly explains as Mima starts kind of mentally unraveling the real world and this crime show she's on. I think Binding Ties or something like that.
Oh, Double Bind,
that was it. She starts those start kind of bleeding into each other, and she's doing this scene, but then she's actually speaking to someone in real life, and they're like, oh, and then she starts forgetting what day it is, which
losing her personal identity and slowly becoming this role that she is in this cop drama show that she's in. And
procedural or whatever.
Yeah, everything starts just merging together. And it's Lynchian again in this like weird dream-like, almost
logic,
partially comatose stupor. It's so weird.
And I think those are the moments that always stick with me. Like, the digital Mima, as she was called. I think the American voice actress, called her the digital Mima, which is the original pop idol personality with the sweet kind of stereotypical anime voice. And when she's bouncing along those kind of lampposts, it's just like, oh, it's gorgeous. Like, and yeah, the moment in the bath as well, when she's just kind of lying in there, holding her breath, and just like screaming, the top
looking at
of the
you,
lungs.
Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah. Did you see Black Swan by any chance? You've probably seen Perfect Blue.
Yeah. Seen Requiem for a Dream. Yeah, he robbed some stuff from Perfect Blue, shoved it in that, which Satoshi Kon was apparently not too pleased about.
Right. Well, in that documentary, he says the exact fucking opposite. He was like, I asked him for permission. It was fine. He liked it. He was honoured. I was like, fuck off.
Then Satoshi Kon came back, and I read it in an article saying, you know what, actually, in hindsight, my films are not storyboards for some other fucker's shit.
Yeah. Come up with your own fucking idea. You know. Yeah, and like I said, he wanted to remake it, and it didn't quite happen. But yeah, you could argue he's kind of borrowed. But I think there was an article I read which was like, how far can you take homage before it becomes like infringement, copyright infringement,
before it becomes
and stuff.
Plagiarism.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I do like Black Swan. Don't get me wrong, I do like it. If you've seen Perfect Blue before, you're like, I've seen this story. I know this story.
Oh, you know how I feel about Darren Aronofsky and his smug face.
Go on. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, when you sent me that, when you sent me the link to that documentary, it literally got 5 minutes in. I was like, I can't watch this. No. That man's in it.
I mean, it's very briefly.
Fucking guy.
He is. I'll get some quotes for some other directors who love the work of Satoshi Kon later on. We'll do those quotes later, but yeah, like if you were trying to convince somebody to watch it, this is your defense of this film. Again, it's got very few contractors who say, I hate this, I don't like this is horrible. I think most people who watch it will find something in it to like. How would you convince like a Western person who doesn't really watch anime? How would you convince them to watch this?
So my pitch would probably be towards actual cinema lovers, people that do love films and just watching them and being engrossed, that kind of thing, because I don't think this is going to be a film that anybody who's just like, yeah, I watched that film the other night and I just sat scrolling through Facebook on my phone for the most of it. Do you know what I mean? The people that watch film and are really interested and invested in cinema have got their whole attention to put towards it, which is great because you do need attention for this film. Fantastic.
Definitely.
What I would say to them is, if you are a genuine fan of art and filmmaking in whatever form it may be, you have to watch it because it is a piece of art. It's one of those films that does stay with you. You watch it and you were like, and if you're not an anime fan, you would watch it and you go, do you know what? For a cartoon,
yeah, exactly.
For a cartoon, that was actually really quite good.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that before because I've always loved animation. I've always gone, oh, this is really good. Check this out. Watch this. Watch that. Watch this. And they're always like, oh, bloody cartoon.
It's a cartoon, isn't
for
it?
kids, that for kids.
Not watching that.
Yeah,
watching that Japanese porn.
Yeah, exactly. That's the joke. Yeah, like, oh, it's the the Sentai stuff, or it's
Oni-chan.
Yeah, exactly. All that sort of stuff. Like it's I hate that kind of. It's limiting talking about art in that form, to say that. It's the same with comic books. People go, oh, comic books, you must be. When I was a kid, they'd be like, oh, you must be fucking gay or something, and I'm like, no, being nothing wrong with being gay. I don't like using that slur, but comics are just something I enjoy, and I take, I like wrestling. Doesn't make me any more gay, even though it's, a lot of muscly guys running around in spandex and,
it doesn't make you partial to a folded chair, does it?
No, I mean, no. Well, I mean, some days I feel like hit myself with a folded chair. But yes, no, not quite that much. But, I always hated that kind of like argument. I thought it was a fucking stupid shit argument. Like,
I always thought it was like a very, very sort of condescending.
Yeah, absolutely.
Type thing, condescending and particularly quite, I don't know, snobbish.
Yeah,
it's a snobbish way of looking at stuff.
Because I wouldn't go like I'm watching a film or someone's watching a film and I go, oh, that's for kids because that's shit that because it's for kids a film. Yeah, they make kids films, but they also make other types of films. They make anime for kids, but they also make it for adults as well. It's a medium. It's a form. They make music for kids. They make music for adults. It just never made any sense to me, that fucking stupid, again, limiting fucking snobbish attitude towards it. And that's why I'm not as well versed in anime as you, but I'm open to the experience. I'll be like, yeah, if you tell me it's good, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a try. And I've discovered things, and I love Akira. I know it's an obvious one, but I think that's an epic one as well.
Might have to jump in with a quick fact there.
Oh, go on then. Go on.
Satoshi Kon was an underling of Katsuhiro Otomo. The man behind Akira.
That makes a lot of sense.
If that was it, Katsuhiro Otomo, was it Mamoru Oshii? Because I always get the two confused.
Fair enough.
Oh, terrible.
Big names in Japanese, animation circles. Fair enough. Yeah, I can see that. He did Memories as well. I think
it was Mamoru Oshii. Because. I think I remember. So I quite like watching the Patlabor series. If I remember correctly, I think I saw Satoshi Kon's name in the credits. I think it's Mamoru Oshii.
And again, I think your arguments sound as well. Like if like people, American slasher movies are so popular. The kind of giallo genre as well from Italy. It's kind of both very similar, and they both have absolute influences here. And you were saying about the novel as well, and like they were able to take a lot of liberties with that novel as well, which was good, and kind of prompted Con on to do kind of the reality blending and the fact and the fiction and making not sense of it, and then while still making sense of it at the same time. And that I think that was quite liberating for him, because otherwise it was quite I think it was heavy on the violence and stuff towards women and things like that. And so I think that's probably the strength of the film more so than any of the other moments. I think is the mental deterioration and the bleeding of these two worlds together as we go along. Let me ask you about this. Like, are there any scenes or sequences where you feel they definitely had to happen or did happen within the film for it to kind of make sense at the end?
Oh, off the top of my head, do you know what? It's
it's hard.
I'm trying to put stuff into words. I don't know what it is, but there's just a few scenes that really stand out in my head. And that is like the stuff that happens in Mima's apartment, especially.
Yeah.
And then even when she is on set, when she's like filming, I find that a little bit hard to actually put into words. But there are just like a few of those scenes that do stand out to me.
They stand out because kind of visually, or where the characters are
visually,
mentally.
Yeah, and I suppose because it's like I said before. So the story just goes hand in hand with the animation as you would expect it to, but everything's paced in such a way that it just works. It just works. But definitely like the scenes in Mima's apartment, and those stand out as like actually some of my favourite scenes as well, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, I love again, when she starts kind of taking stuff down and she's trying to become somebody else. She's like, let's take the Chan poster down, let's rework it.
She goes from that sort of controlled, right, that is a part of my life that's over there. I'm going to put this stuff away. She's like saying, I'm a grown-up now.
Yeah, kind of compartmentalising it, yeah.
Yeah, and then when it gets to a bit later on in the film where she's not doing, a nice controlled taking away of things, she just goes apeshit.
Because again, that was her fully formed identity. She knew who she was. She knew what she required. She was good at it. She had friends that she worked with.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's kind of thrown. She's done all these acting lessons, and now she's, and people are kind of making fun of her, and she feels all the art. You can always, like, in this film, I always felt like the paranoia, I think, is palpable. Yeah. The real paranoia. And again, like we were talking about the kind of pop idol thing, and you were talking about the negative aspects to it, and that's the one thing I noticed immediately when the film started again was the entire audience is like teenage to like adult blokes, like men, and these girls are very like, skimpy dress, but they're singing a very kind of sweet song, framed as being quite young and delicate and pure, let's say, for lack of a better word. But all these kind of creepy men with their beady little eyes are watching, and they all want a piece of her. And I love as well that the choreography is out of sync. Like I love that. I love that little detail, because it's like, that's real. That's because it made it real to me. Like, if they just, because normally you would just animate the thing as the same as the girl, and that moment where she kind of does like she kind of spins back on herself and misses like a can being thrown at her, which again, lovely little moments like that. Just, again, they don't mean much, but I feel like with animation, because you are painstakingly creating these images, everything absolutely means something.
Everything counts. Like I mentioned before, every single second of the animation in this film is purposeful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Every image, every, Mima, when Mima's rubbing the blood off her face, or the digital Mima, or Rumi, whatever you want to call her, like that image I think is amazing. And like, and then, when Rumi's chasing her, spoilers, but Rumi's chasing her, but she's seeing the version of herself. She's finally confronting who she used to be and who she's trying to be, and trying to find herself within that, within all these things that all these different people want her to be. Again, a wonderful kind of arc for the character, or like the whole from the beginning to the end. And yeah, and we have this, speaking of those kind of, I think they're called otaku. Am I right in saying otaku? The kind of fans of...
Otaku, yes.
Yeah.
An otaku would be a somewhat obsessive... So it's sort of like, I want to say these are maybe be like people in the 60s that followed the Grateful Dead round on tour every day.
Never missed one. Yeah.
Never missed one, no.
Whole Beatlemania, that type of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
To a degree.
Otaku is somewhat like the equivalent, and it usually is. In sort of our understanding, it's usually people that are obsessive fans of anime, but otaku really in Japan sort of applies to, anything where there is a fan base.
Right, fair enough, yeah. And we see like several scenes throughout the film of this one group of guys.
Yeah, these three guys.
Yeah, just like criticizing her or saying, oh, she doesn't look as hot here, or she doesn't, I don't like her in this, or she was shit in that show, or that show's shit. Why would she do it? She should go back to doing this. They all have fucking opinions about her and her life and what she should do, what she shouldn't be doing.
But they're still buying all of her stuff though and still following her around.
They are. And again, we get the creepier aspect of this is the Mima's room that she doesn't know about, but there's a website, a very kind of, again, this is bare bones, very basic 1997 website, which is her kind of room, and she kind of posts on there and talks about her life and what she's up to. And then once Mima actually gets on the internet, and there's somebody who's crafted this website and is pretending to be her. And responding to certain fans and making certain fans do and feel certain things and relate to them in certain ways. That's another thing that's kind of like, really kind of messes with her, because she's like, this isn't me, but it is me. And it, totally messes with her.
It's like the first time she actually hears about it, and then she goes onto this website and she's reading it. It's just like, she's really fucking naive. It's adorable, really, but she's like, oh wow, this is somebody's like writing all this, it's kind of cute and everything. And then she starts to go on it more, and then she eventually realizes, hang on, something's not right here, because they know what brand of milk I buy, they know what store I shop in when I'm on my way home getting my groceries. I think that was probably a turning point, actually, like the main one, when she fucking realizes something's not right here. And when when her fish die.
Oh God, yeah, awful. And then later on, and again, like later on, she ends up in a identical apartment later, but she realizes it's not her apartment because the fish are alive. She goes, can't be my apartment.
No.
I can't keep the fish alive. And then she opens the window and sees like a train which shouldn't be there, and a track and everything. I love that moment as well when she goes on the website to find out what she's been doing, because she can't remember. She's lost. She's like, oh, I must have gone shopping today. She doesn't know if she did, because she's completely lost to any sense of who she is or what she's doing. And again, she's in this show playing this person who also is losing her sense of identity and who she is, and taking on a different persona and personality.
It's like the show within a show principle.
And I think that really comes to a head where in the show they ask her to do this. She was pretending to be a stripper, and she gets, sexually assaulted by these characters in the strip club. And she's like, they're like, how can you ask her to do this? This is not what she does. She has this image as the pop idol. You're going to ruin it. You're going to destroy it. But she's like, no, this is what I signed up for. It's going to be, a difficult scene, but it's not like I'm being actually sexually assaulted. And the second she said that, I was like, no, because it's going to blend. We're going to blend the worlds are going to blend, and it's going to feel like you are. And it's, kind of weirdly awful, kind of disturbing, kind of Me Too-esque vibe to it, which like really disturbed me.
One little detail that I actually quite enjoyed during it's a horrific scene, even though it's it's being acted.
Staged. Yeah, supposedly staged, but the character doesn't know the difference anymore. That's the problem.
Exactly,
is she can't tell the difference, and that's why, and it's portrayed in that way. But again, we have moments where it's like, just hold there, and the actor who's doing the, is attacking her, is apologizing for having to do it and stuff.
I don't know why, but that little moment just stands out massively for me during that scene when he goes, "I'm sorry."
Yeah,
and she's like, "No, it's okay."
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then there's several moments. Like the one moment I didn't think was real was when Cham are performing and then she kind of turns up and she's in the show. I feel like that for me, what didn't feel quite real, because she's kind of already somewhere else. And then there's the dodgy photos that she not dodgy, but the erotic photos, let's say, that she's taken, and then maybe she didn't take them. And then we're not too sure. But I think that's kind of the fun, is that it never actually really says, and ultimately it kind of doesn't matter what is real or what's imagined.
Yeah.
Because it's all kind of, because it gets to a point where it's so blended so seamlessly that the character doesn't know and you don't know. So you can kind of buy into that struggle because you're struggling to kind of understand.
Yeah.
Just like she is. So it's, again, ultimately very relatable, this storyline.
So when I mentioned, when you get to about the halfway point in the film earlier on, and everything does start to become a little bit more frantic in terms of pacing, like why I mentioned the whole aspect of Mima's room and then her outside sort of persona, if you want to say that, when she's actually doing the acting.
Sure.
Everything does start to get a little bit more frantic in that second half, to the point where everything, it is all like melting together. And then you get these really quick cuts of scenes where she just wakes up in her bed and then she's back to work again, and then she wakes up in her bed. I always thought that was a really nice way of showing that, she is essentially breaking down. I always thought it was a really good way of actually showing that. And like you mentioned before, when she is reading the Mima's Room website and saying, "Oh yeah, I must have done that today," because she hasn't got a clue at this point. She can't tell her ass from her elbow. And then that murder that occurs, and she finds evidence that she possibly did it in her room again. So you don't get any of her actual daily life, when she is coming home from work and she's stopping in the shop. It gets less and less because everything's just going so fucking wrong for her, physically and mentally. I don't know what it is, just that section is just a nice bit of fucking filmmaking, that.
Yeah.
To portray this poor woman's descent into insanity, basically.
Yeah, 100%. And those murders are fucking brutal as well.
Brutal.
They are fucking brutal. Like the photographer who gets his eye stabbed. Again, lovely little moments where he gets his eye stabbed and he smiles, and then all of a sudden it's like proper anime, like gushing kind of geyser of blood shooting out his eye, and then he's like, and then you get that wonderful, I guess on the cover of your DVD, that wonderful kind of stabbing ice pick, very Basic Instinct, situation going on. And it starts off as it's like, "You're a really weird pizza guy," and then it's stabbing away, the hat falls away, and you see her. And she's, and again, I love all the use of kind of double images as well. Like when she's kind of on the train station and her pop idol self, the digital self, starts talking to her, and I love that kind of double image. And again, her stabbing away, being this very different person from what she is. She's portraying this kind of soft, beautiful, naked form. In the photographs that she had done, but the guy is like, she's like, absolutely, like, this is fucking your fault. You've ruined me. You've destroyed my identity.
I heard he was stabbed 47 times.
When I was watching it, I watched my version on the DVD, and it said for some reason he was stabbed umpteen times. I was like, umpteen. I was like, that's very English. That is really English that you said. Oh, umpteen times he was stabbed, and I was like, okay, that's Someone's like, oh, won't put a number on it, but umpteen. And that was another thing about mine.
Probably from Doncaster, they'd be like, right, let's get this subtitle, shall we?
Here we go.
Then we're off now. and an arses for a few pints after work.
Uh,
Tab on go.
oh, fucking hell. Yeah, it was just bizarre. I was just like, that's a weird word to use. And then also in my subtitles, it said that she'd been in Cham for 21 years. And I was like, well, that can't be right.
Bitch is 21 anyway.
I know, I know. That's what they say in the. And I was like, she can't have been in Cham. I think what it was. I think it was 2.5 years, but I think they fucked it up, and it just didn't look like 2.5 years. I think it was just like, I don't know what it was, but I was like, she can't be fucking that old. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. All these boys wouldn't be here watching her and doting on her and want to do all this. What did you think to her stalker, or one of her stalkers, Mr. Me-Mania?
Oh, Mimania.
Oh, Mimania. Sorry, Mimania. Yeah.
Me-Mania. That actually makes more sense because he's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
They made him purposely ugly. You can
fucking
tell.
Hell, yeah.
He's like this big lummox of a bloke who's just absolutely everywhere where Mima is. And I don't know how she would not notice him up until all the weird shit starts happening. Because it's like, so there is this sort of, oh God, I keep forgetting the words. There is this like... So they're portraying this guy basically as like one of them super obsessive otaku type fans, except this one actually leaves his basement.
Mm.
Super obsessed. He's not the nicest guy to look at all. Essentially, even for 1997, they are portraying this guy as like some kind of incel.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
One of the guys who's like, oh, all the women think I'm ugly, but he is.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. He is not a looker of a man. He is absolutely obsessed with Mima. He's fucking scary, man.
Oh, yeah. Really disturbing to look at. But also, again, he is like that crystallization of all that toxic masculinity, the wanting ownership of women. They can't do this, they can't do that. They must satisfy my needs, my wants, my desires. And when they don't do that, then there must be an imposter. There must be somebody else. Why would they do this? Why would they betray me? They want again, the whole world wants a piece of Mima.
Yeah.
The producers, the actors, the what have you, the agents, Rumi and Mr. Mimania, whatever. They all want a piece of her, but she doesn't even know. She doesn't even have the pieces to give.
She doesn't know what piece she is.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't know. She can't. Everyone is trying to define her or pigeonhole her in this thing. And she can't even do it herself because everyone's trying to have these expectations and demands of her, which again, it like plays into that kind of loss of identity and trying to find her way out of this kind of spiral that she finds herself in. But yeah, like he's a fucking creepy dude. The eyes are weird. And again, I think that moment, again, there's a wonderful little moment. All of the like, every moment in this is so important. That moment where the throwing the cans at the stage, these kind of people that have caused trouble again and again. And later on, you find out he's died in a hit and run, and it's implied that Mr. Mimania has done it, has kind of collided with him and killed him or hurt him. It's implied, but we don't actually know 100%.
Don't actually see it, yeah.
No, but he like puts the clipping in the elevator with her, and he looks at her, so it's kind of implied that he did it. But there's this moment where he's like being aggressive and shouting things at her, saying she's shit and throwing stuff on the stage, and he goes over and like attacks the guy, and he gets punched, and there's that moment where kind of Mima sees this and kind of acknowledges it and likes it and appreciates it. But then she's like, stop, I'm going to leave today. I'm going to leave Cham. I'm really sad, but I needed to tell you this. And then the crowd goes up in uproar because they're upset. Mm-hmm. They're upset because they're changing the status quo. And yeah, so there's that lovely moment where he notices her notice him, and he kind of smiles. He's got this bloody nose and everything, and it's all the more disturbing because we think
a proper notice me senpai moment.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, and he, that's the kind of the moment where he kind of goes, he fully commits to the fandom. Let's say the stalkerish kind of over the top avid fan.
The protector of the.
Yeah, her virtue or whatever.
The ideal idol who is like placed on this pedestal.
Absolutely. And we learn later, so spoilers for the end of the film. again, Mima's going through all of this anyway, and there's this kind of stalker, or there's these messages that she gets a fax. You remember those faxes?
Traitor!
It says traitor all over it. There's a letter that's sent her at the studio when she's recording the film, and it's kind of got a small explosive in it, and it blows up the hand of her producer, her other talent agent, the male one.
Oh, Tadakoro.
That's him. And then we slowly but surely we learn somebody who is impersonating Mima on Mima's Room, the website.
You are led to believe that it is Mimania.
Yeah. But then also, like, it says that Rumi contacted. So Rumi is revealed to have her own personality issue, and she believes she's the pop idol Mima as well. And she's like, and the other Mima, the real Mima, is the imposter and wants to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's implied that Rumi's messaged, or at least said, again, I mean, this whole film could be fucking implied, to be honest. Like, we don't know really what the fuck happens in it, like, properly, or what, we know the ending, which is kind of implied to be her kind of ending, the kind of perfect blue sky ending, which I think is what the title is kind of referring to. We don't know 100%, but I feel like if to get to that ending, you kind of have to have some of these key scenes have to have happened to get to that point. So yeah, it's implied that Rumi's contacted Mimania, and then he's gone to kill Mima, and she's not even sure if it's real anymore when he's attacking her, and she's like running away. And then his body gets cleared away, and then there's no sign of a struggle. Then she thinks she's losing her mind again. She's like, I must have imagined it. It couldn't have been real. I'm in different clothes now as well, which kind of implies, again, because she's in a different, she's in torn clothes, but it's not the same torn clothes she was in that scene. So it implies, again, she imagined it, or it's a hallucination, or whatever you want to call it. Her reality is kind of blended with something else. But yeah, Rumi, takes on this persona, and she makes her room. That's the room she ends up in, is Rumi's room somewhere else, but it's the older version, or the idealized pop idol version of Mima's room. And that's when she comes out and reveals herself to be kind of a new Mima, or a different Mima, the idolized pop version, the digital Mima.
Thought it was like Rumi who was sort of living vicariously through Mima, hence why she developed this other persona, because it is mentioned once or twice throughout the film that Rumi was actually an idol herself.
Yes, yeah.
And then she became a
talent agent.
A talent agent, for other idols and stuff. So she is essentially living vicariously through Mima.
Yeah. Sure.
And then starts to develop her persona, and then she's like, if you're an idol, you stay a fucking idol.
Yeah, true.
And she becomes how she would say it, the real Mima, the one that carried on being an idol singer.
Yeah. So it's almost like her paranoia and this identity crisis she's having is given like a physical form in Rumi. And I love when they're like, I love that, obviously, Rumi's a bit of a heavier set character, and, but we see from Mima's perspective that it's, there's a moment where she has to jump across onto the kind of adjoining roof of this other building to get away from her, to stop being stabbed. And we don't see like Rumi trying to like launch herself kind of awkwardly from roof to roof. We see as the digital Mima kind of very Mary. She gets an umbrella, so we get a very Mary Poppins type vibe from her, which I was like, oh, this is a wonderful way of showcasing this, because otherwise it'd just be like, just absolutely like, devastating, kind of massive.
It cuts between what Mima is seeing, which like you said, she's seeing the digital Mima. She's seeing Mima as she sees herself.
Yes.
And then it cuts to scenes of Rumi as Mima, and you know what I really appreciate? This is really fucking weird.
Please tell me.
The cellulite. It fucking brings you back round, and you're like, yeah, actually, shit, that's Rumi.
Yeah, that is real. That's real.
That's Rumi with the red knickers.
Yeah, and again that indicates to me, because she's a former idol, that maybe, she started to put weight on, and that's probably why they kind of shit-canned her, maybe, or they said, we don't think you're right for this, or, you're not physically attractive to these otaku
or maybe
anymore.
She couldn't go into another career like what Mima did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and maybe she's jealous of that she can translate that popularity and that fandom over to an acting thing where maybe Rumi couldn't. So yeah, and again, it's that lovely double image is you're seeing, and you see Rumi in the reflection. You don't see her. You see when she stood there, you see the Mima, the digital Mima, but the reflection is Rumi, which I found was interesting because it's almost like Mima needs that to be the digital Mima and not Rumi, so she can kind of vanquish that side of herself and fully kind of get back her personality almost.
I did think it was like a nice way of just showing it as well. Obviously, we are seeing everything through the perspective of what Mima's seeing. We are sort of going along with her psychosis as well, as if it's like, her point of view. And it's the mirror world, the reflections and everything is what's happening for real. The mirror is showing, all of the lumps, the bumps, the ugliness, the fucking reality of everything.
Yeah, that's interesting because like mirrors are kind of like are said to be like windows into other worlds.
They are.
Cultures cover them up because of ghosts can come through them.
I won't have one in my room.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because of that? Or?
Do know about my witchiness and my family witchy history.
Please tell me more. Please tell me more.
I come from a family of gifted women, let's put it that way. Basically, I've been a practicing witch for like the past 23 years now, on and off. And we do not have mirrors in our bedrooms.
I try not to look at them myself. I can't bear to look at myself anyway, so that's why I don't try not to have them. But no, that's cool. I like that. It's a real thing. It's a cultural thing, and it is like you said, you can be pulled in. It's a portal, and it's fascinating. But yeah, that's what I like is that the mirror, which usually is the opposite, or it's always presented the mirror image is the opposite, but actually the mirror or the reflection is the true self, which again, really interesting way to go with this. We are slowly coming to an end. Is there anything else you'd like to say in defense of Perfect Blue? Again, I'm going to go into why you probably didn't need to defend it, but still, if people are on the fence, again, they're not into anime, what do you say?
I wouldn't say I would actually need to defend it, but in this case, there are going to be people, like I said before, they're going to be like, oh, it's a fucking cartoon, what does it? Just watch it. Like, I am looking at the back of this DVD case here. It's approximately 80 minutes running time. It's 80 minutes of your life. Just watch it. You never know. You might be pleasantly surprised.
I think you will be. I think
considering this is a film that's had such an effect on other filmmakers in the West, for Christ's sake, it's worth checking out, especially if you are a fan of that fucking guy Darren Aronofsky. Why not?
Even Satoshi Kon's ideas have found themselves into things like Inception. Those ideas are there, the bridging of the dream world and the real world and the blending of it and the multiple layers and levels. I
will say that Satoshi Kon's other works also have a similar sort of dreamy concept. So you mentioned Inception before. So if you watch Perfect Blue, fantastic. If you enjoy it and you want to watch some other works by Satoshi Kon, the next stop after that would probably be Paprika. Seeing as you mentioned Inception, that has a lot to do with dreams and going into dreams. You can see where I'm coming from here.
I haven't seen any of his other work apart from this, but I really, after watching that documentary, which again I'll link below in the notes, again, I know Georgina didn't care for it because it's got that guy in it, that fucking guy. But if you're open to seeing mere snippets of that fucking guy, then I think you might quite enjoy it. Satoshi Kon did pass away of
15 years ago from pancreatic cancer.
Yeah, he was only 46.
Yeah,
unfortunately, and didn't finish his final film. So it's just really, really sad because I think the whole world kind of missed out on that. But yes, and I think it was you finished there by just saying watch it, and I agree with you. I think that's a great argument.
Kind of how I end on everything, to be honest.
Just
I'm like,
fucking
you
watch it.
just gotta watch it.
I'm pretty sure Strange Days ended like that as well. I think your argument for Strange Days was just fucking watch it.
Just fucking watch it, man.
Yeah, good. It's convincing. It's a very convincing argument. There was a few things I wanted to go through. So I want to say, is it Junko Iwao? The lead actress who plays Mima. Is that how you pronounce it? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't think it is.
Iwao.
Iwao. So you were talking about pop idols being real. She was one of these pop idols.
Yes.
And she had a stalker as well.
Yes.
So I mean, this casting is kind of perfect, really. Like, she had the experience, and again, she talked about in the documentary, if you watch it, she talks about how difficult it was and how that she had to go to work with a fever and things like that, and forced to be controlled and have all these kind of experiences. That was her life. So it's no wonder she's so convincing in this role.
I will say as well, so Junko Iwao, like you said, she was an idol at an earlier stage in her life. And yeah, she voices Mima in the Japanese version of Perfect Blue. Voice acting, funnily enough, does actually seem to go hand in hand with the sort of the idol career, because when they do get to the end of their the sort of idol lifespan, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
Some are very lucky that they do actually continue into, sometimes the 30s and sometimes beyond that into the 40s. If they're really popular, they will. But if not, they just die a gradual death because they're getting older. They do have a tendency to go into things like voice acting.
So I just wanted to go through a few bits of trivia, and then I've got a listener comment right at the end. So Roger Corman himself said, Perfect Blue is a startling and powerful film. If Alfred Hitchcock partnered with Walt Disney, they'd make a picture like this.
I can see that. Maybe not Walt Disney. I don't know. I'm thinking...
Yeah, I'm not sure of it. I mean, I can see the Hitchcockisms, the Hitchcockian vibe, but I don't know if it's fully Hitchcockian, maybe.
Not
but
quite, no.
I wouldn't say it's, and I've seen a fair bit of Hitchcock.
I will agree with saying that it's a powerful film. It is.
Yeah. Time magazine included the film on its top 5 anime DVD list. And Perfect Blue also made Terry Gilliam's top 50 animated film list. And Con himself was a fan of Gilliam. So makes a lot of sense. Madonna, of all people, incorporated clips from the film into a remix of her song, What It Feels Like for a Girl.
Yeah, they used a lot of the imagery during one of her tours, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the Drowned World Tour, it was called. Yeah, that's correct. Guillermo del Toro says, Perfect Blue is a giallo for all, and dare I say it, perhaps one of the most intricate ones ever made in any medium. It's a big fan. And then Irving Kershner, he's the director of The Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
And RoboCop 2, which I think is personally underrated. He says, I found Perfect Blue to be an exceptional film of this genre. I was caught up in a way the industry manipulated the lonely, innocent young pop star. I cared for Mima and was quite moved by the way she fell from grace by trying to please men who used her to make money.
And that's another thing as well. These defending it. Defending it.
No need.
All these other guys are like, yeah, watch it. So am I.
Yeah, do it. If you can't take Georgina's word, can't take my word, take these guys' word.
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like there was a 2012 TV series as well, based on the novel. I don't know if that's what I found. And then there was a live action remake in Japan last year, from what I can tell. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I've not gone for them personally.
No.
I do just like the anime.
Yeah. I mean, it does everything I want it to do.
Well, yeah, it does what it needs to do, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have the audiobook, and I was listening to that as well. And it's not very long, to be honest. It's about 4 and a bit hours or so.
Oh, that is short.
It's manageable. So if you do have something like Audible and you've just got a random free credit or whatever, just
do it.
Do it. Do it.
It's supposed to be quite different, like we said, from the film. So at least you'll have a little bit of variety there as well.
Yeah, a little bit of variety, but it does follow like the same principles. A woman trying to invent herself, and basically falling victim to celebrity and
the
what happens with
patriarchy. The fucking patriarchy and capitalism as well.
And capitalism, yeah.
Falling victim to the whole world's falling victim to all of those things at the moment.
Oh,
and
God.
Fascism as well. But we won't go into that because we will literally be here all day, and we've got to bring it to an end. We've got to bring it to a close. Another few things I found out. Time included the film in its top 5 anime film list. Time magazine. Total Film ranked Perfect Blue 25th on their list of greatest animated films ever. Slash Film named it the scariest animated film ever. And Entertainment Weekly said it was one of the best movies never seen from 1991 to 2011. And then IndieWire named Perfect Blue the 12th best movie of the 90s.
Well, hey.
So, again, don't just take our word for it. Other people like it too.
Even the critics are like, giving it a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's got, like, if you look at all the, I'm not a big fan of, like, review sites anyway.
I'm not either, to be honest.
It's art subjective. Watch it yourself, see if you like it.
Yeah, make your own bleeding opinion
exactly.
about it.
Yeah, don't go, well, that person didn't like it, so I won't. Yeah. No, absolutely. But yeah, it's mostly met with very positive reviews. I think the problem with a lot of those kind of Rotten Tomatoes things is not a lot of people have seen it, or not people have officially reviewed it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the score is technically lower. So again, there are problems with this site, and that's these kind of sites, and I don't really go off them. I only bring them up if I feel it's relevant, really. But yes, Georgina, finally, we've come to our listener comment before we finish. Now, I've only got one. Comment, yes, comment singular. So not quite as popular as Strange Days, not as well seen, let's say, not as obscure, or more obscure rather. So my boss.
Hi, Derek.
Or my boss, Derek. Hello, Derek. Hello. He has Derek Esoteric is his musical name. He makes his own music. Or Derek or Disco Electrico, I think is called on the other brand he has. But he says, "Hi, Dan. Spent the first 30 minutes thinking that Rumi was Rumi, as in roommate. Mima's roommate was her roomie." I think this might be his first experience with anime, so bear with him. He said, was the troublemaking dude in the green at the start, in the green jacket, modelled on Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Tonya, our old friend Tonya, is quite a fan of Mickey Dolenz. So looking at the design in this anime, I think you might offend her a little bit. So be careful there, Derek. Be careful. And then he says, again, this is why I think it's probably his first time watching anime. He goes, "Why did the women have big eyes but the men tiny eyes?" I think that might be because the eyes are the window to the soul, and the men don't have any souls. They're just tiny little beady eyes that want to possess women in some form.
Tiny beady
control
eyes.
them. Tiny beady eyes. We don't want to get to know these people, so the women have the big eyes because they're our characters. But even Rumi at the end, she has the big eyes initially, but in the end, she has the tiny eyes. Did you notice?
Yeah, she does, yeah. To be honest, that's just a stylistic thing.
Yeah.
And you've also got to remember as well that anime was So when anime first came about, like Osamu Tezuka, the man behind Astro Boy, or in Japanese, Tetsuwan Atom, the amount of influence that the likes of Walt Disney had on animation as a whole, so all of the Disney characters back then, massive eyes.
Oh yeah,
massive eyes. So you've still got to remember that as well, and anime is hugely influenced by Western
no, you're right.
animation.
I think it's kind of cyclical. I think it just kind of, we influence them, they influence us, we influence them, they influence us, and we kind of go round and round, east and west, just influence each other in different, unique ways. But yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree.
I think it'd be worth mentioning Max Fleischer as well. You can't,
of course,
mention
absolutely.
Disney without Max Fleischer, no.
No, those Superman cartoons are amazing. Like beyond anything at the time. You could even
Betty Boop as well.
Yeah, all of that. That's another.
Disney would not be where he was if it wasn't for Max Fleischer and his rotoscoping technique. So
absolutely.
There you go.
100%. We talked about rotoscoping quite a lot when we did Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. That's got a lot of rotoscoping in it. That's a fucking mad film, speaking of Nazis.
Scanner Darkly as well.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. So finishing off Derek's comment, the singular listener comment we got. Felt like a dirty perv watching this. What with all the cartoon boobies and the thigh-high hold-up stockings, is this normal in these films? I probably just don't understand art. Is anime the same as mango? Which I think he means manga.
Mango.
Mango, yes. Yes, anime is the same as mango, Derek.
Bless you, Derek.
So, Georgina, is this normal? Is this what these films are always like?
For an 18 rated anime film, yes.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah, definitely.
But on a whole, not really, no. Everything's still subjected to, a certification system as well.
Yeah.
So
if you go out and watch a Studio Ghibli film, Derek, you won't see anything like this. This is nothing like a Studio Ghibli film.
No.
Thought I'd hate it, but once it started riffing a David Lynch type weird vibe, I quite liked it. And by the way, if you're determined to make your listeners watch films with boobies, you really should review Odd Noggins. Go on, I dare you. This is a film he's desperate for me to cover. He needs me to cover it. He's seen it and he's obsessed. So one day I will do it, but I don't think it's going to be today. But yes, that is Derek's listener comment. So yeah, again, listen to Derek. He liked it. He gave it a chance. Again, found it a bit strange, a bit unusual, not necessarily his bag, but after it ended, he came out on the other side and he quite liked it.
Yeah. Anime is not all Dragon Ball, screaming characters, cutesy characters, or anything like that. It is literally just a medium. It is a fantastic way of telling stories.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Georgina. Again, thank you again for doing this. Thank you again for taking the time to talk about stuff.
Absolutely no worries, my friend.
We are definitely going to do something in the future very, very soon. But where can people find you? Are you still on the social medias, still using them?
I'm still technically on social media. I'm a bit here, there and everywhere at the moment. So a lot of my writing stuff, you will probably still find me on like Wattpad and everything, at Major2501. In fact, most of my social media handles are either going to be Kusanagi Creates or Major2501.
Perfect. Yeah, I've got those from last time.
Just search me.
That's all right. I'll link them. And then they don't have to search. They could just scroll down into the notes and find all of those.
Let's have a look and see what this silly chip-eating bitch from Oldham's got to say.
And I'm sure they'll enjoy it every time. I know I do. But yeah, I'll link all of that below. But you can find me at spiderdownthesecretballs.com as always, and don't forget to use the hashtag #PrepareForPrattle when you interact with us. And I'd like to thank my patrons on Patreon. Tony Farina, I Am Jack's Musing, Simon Cotton, Paul Mellon, Mike Burton, Angry Andy, Tonya Todd, Math, Scott Hodgson, Ria Carrigan, Sarah Coyne as well. Thank you for your continuing... Woo! Thank you, you guys. Thank you for your continuing donations. It is very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. And if you ever find yourself in a position to help the podcast, please consider it. But yes, I've absolutely adored watching this again and talking to you about it on length. But yeah, thank you again. This has been amazing. And this is my perfect blue sky of a podcast. All right, we'll see you next time, everybody. And as always, prepare for Prattle.